Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday again, September 17th. As always, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to Mornings with the Manager. And I try to give you an update, as always, about the things that had happened over the past 2 weeks here in the city of Monterey, and also try to be responsive to some of the questions that we have received from you, and those questions that you want me to address during this sessions of Mornings with the Manager. Last week, or actually this week, the council looked at a few topics that I think are interesting to share with you. I've spoken to you before about the accessory dwelling units. These are called ADUs. And state law has mandated a change in our city's ordinance. State law has implemented new rules, new regulations for accessory dwelling units, and they apply to every single city in the state of California. What it does for the city of Monterey, it means that there are some significant changes coming with respect to the permitting process of ADUs. They are now principally allowed in all areas in the city of Monterey. If you recall, our ordinance that was in place differentiated residential areas, but the new state law basically allows ADUs everywhere in the city of Monterey, and it also allows ADUs that are on smaller lots than we originally had mandated in our own ordinance. As you recall, the city ordinance required at least 5,000 square feet of property to allow an ADU, and the state law now basically does not set a standard for that. It also allows junior ADUs. So what's a junior ADU? That's basically something that you can create within the boundaries of your own home. So inside your home, you can create a livable space for folks and use that then as a so-called junior ADU. You can convert also in multifamily housing units, apartment buildings. You are allowed to convert non-used spaces as livable spaces. You can convert those to ADUs as well. For instance, if multi-dwelling units have garages, those can be possibly converted also to ADUs, and so up to a maximum of 25%. So there are different implementation scenarios. Of course, it depends on every individual case, but you may see up to two accessory dwelling units in addition to a single family residence. Theoretically, this is possible. The council received on Tuesday night an extensive briefing about that, and we asked the council, do you like to go beyond the state laws? Because as you can imagine, some of our residents want to go beyond state law requirements. They want to go be more aggressive or more progressive in certain areas. And we definitely heard that night input from the residents, and it was widespread. And also the input received by the council was basically, after the council listened to everyone, that 4 out of 5 council members basically expressed their interest to stay within the boundaries of what the state has already dictated to us as part of their new ADU regulations. So in general, it is our obligation as staff now to bring this proposal to the Planning Commission, because we have to adjust our city ordinance. And what will happen is we will make it clear to the Planning Commission what we learned out of that council meeting. And 4 out of 5 council members were basically saying, no, let's not push the envelope too much. Maybe we can look at certain things, for instance, height restrictions. In general, 16 feet are principally permitted. But there was some interest by one or the other council member to say, well, there might be areas where we could live with a variance on a case-by-case basis. So that was one of the takeaways as well. But in general, it was very clear that the majority of the council, 4 of the 5 council members, really didn't want to push the envelope too much. They wanted to stay within the state requirements, and they want to make also sure that ADUs have absolutely an affordability element to that. So we will bring all that to the Planning Commission. There will be again a public process in which all of you can chime in and share with us your thoughts and your suggestions. And then from the Planning Commission, again, it moves back to the ultimate approval authority, which is the City Council. So with that, ADUs are a factor right now. They will be ministerially approved by city staff. There will be no public review process about individual ADUs. The water issue is of course one of the challenges that we still have here, and the water issue will remain part of the challenges of building ADUs. If you don't have water on the site, it will become challenging to build an ADUs. But having said that, there are ways of changing the water allocations. So if you're really interested in building an ADU, you can create those water reserves for an ADU on your own lot. So that there are some ways of creating this water for the ADU. Meters, as you all know, there's a meter moratorium. Callum is not allowed to put new meters on any lots, but for ADUs, that's not required. You can plumb the ADU to your existing home and your existing water meter. So we will see how this works. So far, we have 12 ADUs in the city of Monterey. We have about 20 in the pipeline right now. 20 folks have expressed interest of building ADUs, and I'm pretty sure we will have some more applications over the next couple of days, weeks, months, years. So I wanted to keep you updated about the ADUs, and I encourage all of you to follow that discussion very, very closely, because it will have an impact on our neighborhoods. You will see probably more density. You will see probably more folks possibly living in residential areas than had lived there before. And I know this is a topic for many of our residents who moved into residential areas because they wanted to live in a residential neighborhood, and they didn't want to live in a multifamily neighborhood where you have apartment dwellings. So this shift is coming again from the state of California, from the elected officials in the state of California. And this shift is, of course, based on the state legislatures and the governor's urging of creating more housing, more affordable housing. Switching gears, I want to talk about the second larger item that was also in front of council that Tuesday night, which was an ordinance to ban leaf blowers. And over the past years, from time to time, there was interest expressed by neighbors, by residents to some sort ban or regulate leaf blowers, because the leaf blowers come with a lot of associated issues, such as noise, such as pollution, such as energy consumption or fuel, etc., etc. And we brought forward as staff to the city council proposal to ban all fuel-powered leaf blowers in residential areas and to allow basically non-fuel powered leaf blowers only to operate between the times of 9 to 3 a.m. citywide. We always hear that folks are getting disturbed in the morning when their neighbors are using leaf blowers or the gardeners are using leaf blowers. So the leaf blower ordinance was discussed. We got a lot of good input, and also one particular neighborhood, Monte Vista neighborhood, I think that is suffering the most under leaf blowers, provided us with a very good survey that helped also the council to see where folks were what folks were concerned about, but where also folks were willing to compromise. And I think what was coming in front of council was a suggested path forward that is a start in the right direction. It still allows leaf blowers to operate in commercial areas, in areas also that have large surfaces. And what you also need to understand is that folks that are slipping on leaves are suing actually also entities such as cities. And if we cannot document an appropriate maintenance, it is rather difficult then to defend a case like that. So the council was cognizant of that and allowed basically the use of electric leaf blowers also in commercial areas, but they are banned out of residential areas. And we want to give also all those businesses that are working in our neighborhoods, and you all know that these are small businesses that are working as landscapers, landscape contractors throughout our city. We wanted to give them also some more time to adjust with their equipment because, as you can imagine, switching it from a gas-powered, fuel-powered leaf blower to an electric leaf blower requires some investments, and also it requires some reorganization, as a leaf blower, an electric leaf blower battery usually lasts only 15 minutes. But the advantage, of course, is that electric leaf blowers are not as noisy as gas-powered leaf blowers, and they also have a complete different, lesser emissions than a gas leaf blower. So in order to allow them to adjust for that, the ordinance will become effect January 1st. With respect to code compliance, or how are we ensuring that somebody is complying with that? Well, we will not have active patrols out in the neighborhood, and we need to catch, quote unquote, somebody in the act if he or she is using a gas leaf blower, continues to do that. So we depend on the neighbors to give us a call, and then we have to go out and verify that the observation is correctly. So as always, code compliance will be responsive to those requests, but we will not be proactively out there ensuring that the right equipment is being used. But I'm pretty sure that our community will react appropriately, and like with so many things, changes will be implemented, and probably a year from now, this will be a very successful initiative and ordinance. So the leaf blower ordinance was in front of the council also last week, Tuesday, and again it becomes effect January 1st, 2021, and gas powered, fuel powered leaf blowers are prohibited. With that, a third item was also in front of council that I feel is also interesting to share with you. That's the budget. We provided council with an update about the 1920 budget, fiscal year 1920. And as I stated with you also numerous times, the budget was devastated or has been devastated. It's still going on with a lot of losses in our prime revenue sectors, hotel tax and sales tax. And last fiscal year, the city council, in partnership with the NCIP, did some bold decisions. And as you know, unfortunately, we had to transfer money from unallocated NCIP projects into the general fund to rescue the budget. And that was the right measure. We estimated a total loss of $13 million between March 15th, 2020 to the end of June 2020. Fortunately, we came in at around $11.5 million losses, because on the flip side, we severely reduced expenses on our expenditure side as well. And that goes back to not just during the COVID times. I had always talked about fiscal health response plan. I've always advocated for a long time about reducing cost out of our operations to work very hard towards that goal. You might recall when we talked about the sales tax increase, we were stating as staff to the council, and council was reiterating and directing us as well to cut back also on our internal expenses into the way and cutting back into ways how we operate. So at the end of the day, our internal expenses were reduced by $2.5 million as well. And with that, we ended up in a place that was still not good, but it could have been way worse. So we reduced our expenses by $2.5 million, and that helped to basically land on an $11.5 million deficit instead of I apologize, $10.5 million deficit instead of a $13 million deficit. So that was a little bit of good news. It doesn't mean that this is all great news, but that's just relatively good news among the bad news that we have been projecting and that actually happened to affect us by June 30th. So we were not overplaying our cards. We were not over dramatizing. We had a good grip on reality there, even though it is a totally unprecedented budget crisis that is caused by COVID-19. For fiscal year 2021, we can look back at 2 months now of revenue in July, August, and also 2 months of expenses. Expenses in a city are pretty seasonal. When you look at certain work that we are accomplishing in summer months, they cause spikes in our expenditures. For instance, greenbelt fuel reduction. That's the maintenance we do in our green belts to restrict fire danger, to maintain the forest. So that's not the raking our president talks about, but that's about taking out fuel brush. We do this usually in the summer months, and with that we have spikes in expenses in the parks division. There are other costs where we have to pay our 1-year service agreements for softwares and for the 911 system. To be part of the countywide 911 system, I think our bill is in the neighborhood of $750,000 annually right now. So there are spikes in our expenses in the beginning of the year, and that we updated the council about the cost that we incurred in July, August, but more importantly, we spoke about the revenues that is coming in. Starting with the property tax, we expect property tax to come in as planned and also to be a stronger property tax. If you look around what's going on in our peninsula right now, you see that homes are briefly on the market and then they are being sold for top dollars. Now that's a trend that is caused always also through the pandemic, because as more people work from home, they are moving into areas where they think it's nicer to live in, and that's the city of Monterey. And many of you, like me, have come to Monterey for a variety of different reasons. But many of us came also from areas in which we decided not to live, but to live and work in the city of Monterey. And what you see right now is that properties are not staying long on the market. I think the average day on the market right now is 20 days. And you see also when you follow the MLS listings that homes get sold over the price that are being asked for, and the uh, sellers are also reacting by increasing the housing cost. And if you look at the market, for instance, in the city of Pacific Grove, it's really crazy to see for how much money a 900 square foot cottage is being sold. So that's a trend that's going on. We expect property tax, therefore, to be strong also in the city of Monterey. There's a different topic associated with that I don't want to elaborate too much on, but how will this change the DNA of our cities? How will this change our demographics? How will this change our demand for services if we get a bunch of new people moving into town who are telecommuting with companies that might be up north in Silicon Valley or even further away? But that's a topic for a different time. We informed them also, the council, in the context of the budget, about sales tax, and sales tax has remained very flat. Um, the state of California collects this sales tax on the city's behalf and then distributes the sales tax, and the sales tax remains flat. Now, July 1st, thanks to the voters of Monterey, Measure G kicked in, and with that, a half-cent sales tax increase, and that will help us to make up for some of those losses. But unfortunately, the sales tax is troublesome for us because it does not come back as we had hoped for. You see statistics out in the country right now where they talk about sales tax being back, or sales are on levels from previous years, etc., etc. Take this with a grain of salt, because that does not apply to the city of Monterey to that extent, because sales tax depends also on people coming into town from outside of Monterey. And another factor that plays a huge role with sales tax is that we have shifted our consumer behavior to online service providers. A lot of folks buy their pet foods on Chewy.com, or they buy books on Amazon.com, or they purchase groceries on the appropriate grocery websites, or they order clothing through Nordstrom's.com or Macy's.com, etc., etc. So the point here is that even though you're remitting the local sales tax when before you hit submit your credit card payment information, you are paying 9.25% sales tax. But what is happening at the back end, that the state pools the sales tax through the online sales. Just for the online sales, they pool it, and then they allocate the sales tax back to the city on the overall proportionality of sales tax generated. So we are losing right now every single time somebody pays a credit card with an online company up to 80% of the sales tax that we are making. Now that's very hard, very harsh. It goes back to, I would say, outdated state laws that have not really helped us yet to catch up with the online sales. As well as it goes back to that the cities who have online distributor in their own cities, think about distribution centers, that those cities, of course, reap a lot more sales tax than anyone else. And there's also a lobby, of course, of folks who don't want to change those laws. So we are hurting very much also on the online sales. And if there are chances for every single one of us to go to a business inside the county and purchase inside the county, whether it's in Monterey or San City or Pacific Grove. We all are hurting the same way. It makes more sense to go out outside of the house and purchase it directly from a vendor. Having said that, I completely understand consumer behavior has to adjust with respect to the pandemic. I spoke about those three items that I hopefully were of interest for you that the council has dealt with. I want to talk about two other things. Recreation. We are opening slightly the doors of our recreation department. What I mean by that is we are not opening the sports center, we are not opening the recreation centers, but we are trying to open programs that we are allowed to manage and to organize. We want to open up again a small preschool program, and we need to see how many people are interested in that, how many parents would like to bring their children into that environment. There is, of course, guidance given to us by the health officials in how to run a program like that, and we will be absolutely compliant with that. But also we need to look at how are we managing this program and how do we manage the associated personnel cost with that. And so we are opening that door slightly, and our recreation department deserves a lot of credit for organizing that right now. I foresee that we will not open every recreation center. I foresee right now that the main emphasis will be just classes held in one recreation center. As you can appreciate, if we have all three centers staffed or working at with very, very small programs, you still have the fixed cost of operating, maintaining, cleaning the building. So we will start with one rec center. It will be in all likelihood Hilltop Park Center, because there we have enough classrooms to have several of those programs running. So stay tuned, follow us on our websites, and of course our daily email will also inform you about that. Also in the sports center, we will open it up slightly more, and when I say open it up, it will be outdoor classes, outdoor activities, and again, it's depending on signups. We will not maintain a program that does not reach the break-even point. If we do not have enough signups for a program, we will not hold that program. But I'm pretty sure that the programs that we are offering are attractive, and they will be very well visited. We expect that because we have been so successful in the past. I've heard some concerns or some questions raised by residents. Can we just open the pool? We had a person calling up on Tuesday night, and that resident made a compelling case by saying that based on their health needs, they need to exercise in the pool. And she was stating that muscle mass is shrinking, and somebody needs to help them to get out in the pool again. And my heart goes out to that person. Unfortunately, we cannot operate the pools. We are not allowed to operate indoor pools. And unfortunately, we completely get it. We completely understand what the needs are. But we are not allowed to reopen the swimming pool right now. So while we understand the need for physical therapy, physical exercise in a therapeutic pool that we have in the Monterey Sports Center, unfortunately, we cannot do that. I want to assure you, if there's a chance to open it up, we will jump at that, and hopefully can then help you and other folks to do that. The library is still operating with a sidewalk service. They don't plan on changing that right now. It has been highly successful. And for right now, we will leave the library operation as it is right now. We have great traffic there, and I want to point out that we have also the Canary Row days coming up to celebrate the 75th anniversary of John Steinbeck's book, The Canary Row. And please go on our website and see a lot of our um, advertisement there of the different programs that we will have during that time. We also have, thanks to a generous donation from the Canary Row company, additional issues of Canary Row available. It's a quick read, but it's a must read for everyone who wants to live in the city of Monterey and wants to state, "I come from Monterey." You need to read that book. It's a must read. Um, I was asked one question, or I think it was asked by several residents, if I could talk about this today. That's about homeless folks on the beach. And when we had beach closures, when we had beach restrictions, we were asked that question already frequently, because folks were saying, well, if I claim to be a homeless, can I then sit on the beach? And the answer is yes. If you're really a homeless person, you are allowed to shelter in place on the beach. And that's not a city regulation. That's a regulation that the governor made early on, when the pandemic was starting to spread, and the governor ordered the state of California to hunker down and shelter in place. And what he basically ordered at that time was, wherever a homeless person lives, wherever they have pitched their tent, wherever their encampment is, that is good enough to be called shelter in place. And with that, the hands are tied for local ordinances to enforce no camping ordinances that we do have in our parks and in our beaches. And with that, you, the residents, when you see homeless living on the beach in tents, and you're wondering about that, because you know the rules that we do not have overnight camping permissions on beaches or in parks. Right now, we are not allowed to enforce those regulations. And with that, we are actually required to comply with a state regulation that has defined a homeless person camping on the beach as equal to sheltering in place, as equal to what you and us are doing staying in our homes. Um, the shelter in place order is still active, and as such, there come associated issues. And when we heard 2 weeks ago, Tuesday, a bunch of folks had coordinated the calls and called in to uh, talk about beach cleanliness. A great deal of the beach cleanliness is in those areas where we have encampments, and we are cleaning up around those encampments on a regular basis. But I can assure you that a great deal of the beach trash that we see is around those encampments, and we really try our best to collaborate with all parties involved to ensure that we are not having really trash everywhere spread on the beach. We increased the frequency of beach cleaning. The beach gets cleaned 7 times a week. We are cleaning the trash cans, etc. We are raking the beach twice, Mondays and Fridays. Only city that does that. But we also hired additional contract personnel, so who they will go every day, also 2 hours per day, and try to clean up those areas as well. Because staffing, as you know, is at a point where we really are at a staffing level that we think is in compliance with service levels, and more importantly, affordability levels. So we increased the frequency of the cleaning on the beaches as well by adding additional contractual resources to that. Another issue about beach cleanliness is that a lot of folks are using takeout food, and then they take their food, and from a restaurant on Wharf Number One or in the downtown area, they sit on the beach, and then they dispose the food containers. Sometimes they dispose it on the beach. That's not so good, but most of the time it goes into the trash cans, and you say the city, some folks saying, "Oh, the city never cleaned those those trash cans." Actually, we do, but they fill up very fast again. And of course, it's easy to say just bring more people in and clean the trash cans on a more routine level. I want to assure you we're doing the best we can, but it's not like so easy to just say, well, we just bring in more people and clean the beach or clean the trash cans around the beach, because there are no more people and the funding is what the funding is right now. So we got to maneuver through that. And overall, I think the situation is okay. It's not the greatest, but it's not as bad as some people might want to present it. We have issues around the homelessness encampments, and we have issues also around trash cans from time to time. We are aware of that, and we're working very hard to combat that and get it done. Another element that people also forget is during the normal times, we have basically every other week or every week one or two groups that are coming to Monterey to volunteer to clean our beaches. They do this as a group exercises. They do this as part of a conference, etc. And all of that is, of course, has stopped because we are on COVID-19. So that is a little longer response about homelessness on the beach and why they're allowed to camp there, and the associated challenges that we have also with COVID-19 and trash volume on the beaches, etc. But please, I think we are now in the post season, and it will be hopefully better. With that, I want to talk briefly about Labor Day weekend, give you another insight. Labor Day weekend, as you know, we had all the beaches closed, and we were very successful in the beach closure. The issue that I wanted to share with you that is an interesting fact is the hotels during the Labor Day weekend on the peninsula were booked almost to the 90 percentile, so they were pretty full. Of course, a 90% occupancy rate doesn't translate to also 90% of the revenues that we had on the previous year's Labor Day weekend, because the room rates, of course, are way lower. But that was a good start for the month of September. What you need to be aware, though, is that during the week, our hotel volume is really going significantly down. And what we always told the community when we were asking to remodel the conference center, rehabilitate the conference center, we were always talking about the conference center as the economic engine during the week. And what if you have 5, 6, 700 participants to a conference, sometimes up to 1,200 participants? Those conferences occupy hotel rooms. And in addition to those conference participants, of course, you have the quote unquote normal tourists coming into town. But you see, with the loss of the conference center right now, and we will not have any conferences there until probably April 2021, that this compression effect is not taking place. And so, while it is good news that on the weekends the hotels are full, especially on Labor Day weekend, that is really good news. It doesn't mean anything more than during the weekdays we have still very, very, very slim picking. And you realize, of course, that also one of the large scale hotels, the Portola Plaza Hotel, is still closed. And we really hope they are opening soon. But and that's a clear indication that the conference center business is very important to our hotels in general, and especially to some of the hotels that are really benefiting from having the conference center so close to them. So with that, I conclude my talk to you today. I really appreciate that you were listening into that, and I hope you stay safe. COVID-19 numbers are looking slightly better for the county of Monterey, looking a lot better for the peninsula of Monterey. And last time I looked at CHOMP, we had 3 patients. One of them was in the ICU. Let's hope that this person gets transferred from the ICU very soon back home. And all of you stay healthy, stay safe. I want to thank you for all your support you're giving us. There are always some folks who send me an email afterwards and tell me how I'm doing and asking me how I'm doing. I appreciate every single one of you, and every single email we get. We are taking to heart, and we are trying to be as responsive as we can be during these times. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all what you're doing. Measure Y is the TOT tax measure that will be on the ballot sooner than later. And with that, I hope you have a great day. Stay safe, everyone out there. Bye bye.